Hello again, it's Mr. Dixon, your too cool for school counselor, back with another episode of Mr. Dixon's Doodles. Today, we're going to talk about COVID-19, which is also known as the coronavirus. First, we'll start by describing what the coronavirus is, then we'll talk about social distancing and why it's important. Lastly, we'll talk about the steps you can take to help yourself and others during this time. Well, to make a long story short, the coronavirus we're dealing with now is a newer version of an old virus. Just like a cell phone company might make a new phone, sometimes viruses that have been around for a while might mutate, which means change, and become something different. A virus is a type of germ that is super small, so small we can't even see it. Sometimes a virus may cause us to get sick if they get inside of our bodies. When we get sick from a virus or other things, there's something called a symptom, which is basically a clue that tells us we might have a certain illness. Some common symptoms of viruses and even COVID-19 are things like a fever, coughing, and sore throat. Another thing we need to remember about spreading germs and viruses is that everybody is different. Sometimes we can have a virus and not have any symptoms or clues at all that we're even sick. Now, just because this version of the coronavirus is new to us doesn't mean you've never been around a virus before. I'm sure most of you have heard of things like the flu, colds, and chickenpox. All of these things are also viruses. A big difference between these things and the coronavirus we're dealing with now is that we've had the others around for much longer. Because of that, we've learned how to better treat them and have even developed some vaccines to prevent us from getting them altogether. Since this coronavirus, COVID-19, is so new, people everywhere in the world are trying to figure out the best way to not only treat it, but to keep it from spreading. Now, we're going to talk about the steps our school and several others are taking to help prevent the spread and treat others during this time. The reason we're doing e-learning and are out of school at this moment is actually a part of the steps used to help prevent the spread of the coronavirus. When we keep ourselves away from big groups of people, like at schools, churches, and gyms, we call it social distancing. Social distancing is exactly what it sounds like. It's when we distance ourselves from others and stay away from large social environments. Let's look at an example of why this is an important step to take. This is Chad. Let's say Chad was feeling really sick one day and had symptoms like coughing and a stomach ache. Chad's mom said he could stay home, but he wanted to go to school anyway so that he could see his friends and play basketball during gym class. Chad goes to school thinking that he'll get better soon and that it's not a big deal. He sees his friends, they do their normal handshakes, play basketball, and then he goes home. The next day, Chad's feeling even better, so he goes back to school but notices that a couple of friends he was playing basketball with called in sick. When he sees them at school again the next week, he asks them what was wrong, and they tell him they had a bad cough and a stomach ache all weekend. From hearing this, what can we guess might have happened to make Chad's friends sick? As you've guessed, Chad's friends probably got sick because of some of the germs Chad spread to others while they were doing their handshakes and playing basketball. Chad and others would have been much better off staying home, knowing that he didn't feel well. This would have probably helped keep germs and viruses he had from spreading to others during this time. As we discussed earlier, sometimes we can have a virus and not have any symptoms at all. So even in situations we're in now where there might not seem to be that many sick people with symptoms, we don't really know who all might have the virus. That's the whole reason we're doing social distancing at school and in our community. We want to do the best we can to stop from spreading germs like Chad did to his friends, so we can keep people as healthy as possible while our doctors and scientists figure out how to best deal with this new coronavirus. Now that you know what the coronavirus is and steps our schools and community are taking through social distancing, we'll talk about a few things you can do to help. C, meaning to clean your hands often. D, means don't touch your face. T, means tell an adult if you experience any symptoms or don't feel well. Cleaning your hands regularly is important now more than ever. Remember, germs are super small and stay alive on many different surfaces, not just other people. Just because we can't see them doesn't mean they're not there. To clean your hands, you can either use hand sanitizer or wash them with soap and warm water for about 20 seconds. Make sure that you scrub your hands well, and don't forget about the back side of them either. An easy way to keep track of time in your head is to sing the ABCs. D means don't touch your face. Our skin does a pretty good job at protecting us from germs, but our face has more openings for germs to get inside of our body. Our eyes, nose, ears, and mouth are all much easier places for germs to get in. That's why it's super important that you remember not to touch your face. Lastly, T means to tell an adult if you start to feel sick. If you have any symptoms or just don't feel normal, it's important that you tell an adult so they can get you the right help. Just because you have symptoms doesn't mean you have the coronavirus. It could be anything. But we want to make sure we're letting others know so we can get the right help we need and keep from spreading our germs to others. Taking the CDC steps above and making sure we're using social distancing to stay away from big groups gives you a lot of power to help with this coronavirus. We all have a job to do. Throughout this video, you've learned about what the coronavirus is, the importance of social distancing right now and why we're doing it, and lastly, how we can all use CDT to do our part in fighting the coronavirus. Even though times might seem weird right now, eventually things will probably start to become normal again. Our scientists, doctors, and other leaders are working hard to keep you and your family safe and to deal with this coronavirus. The best thing we can do as individuals is to make sure we're staying away from large groups, cleaning our hands regularly, and following the guidelines we're given by our leaders and adults. That's all for our lesson on COVID-19. Until next time, remember that you are competent and capable, so always be confident. See ya!